Welcome, everybody, to another podcast, the Whole You podcast. I'm so excited. Today, I have my guest, Shanuka, and we're going to be diving into all things self-love, self-acceptance, all the juicy stuff that comes with it as well. So I can't wait. Shanuka is the self-love queen. And yeah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I am Shanuka. I am a self-love and connection coach. Whatever experience you have in the external world starts from within. So if you struggle with self-love, this podcast, we're all going to touch on just what to do to really tap into the best version of you so you can just tap into the best experience in your real world. And that is my mission. That is my mission with my clients and my friends and everyone whose lives I can touch, honestly, is just to help them live life for a living. So, yeah.
I love it so much. And that's so true. Like, in order to fully live, I feel like you kind of have to step into your authentic self. And truly, in order to do that, you have to have love and acceptance towards yourself, right? And your life is literally just a reflection of you. And so helping people step into them is like, oh, so exciting.
Yummy. Yeah.
So yummy. And
Yes.
that's also something that just lights me up so much, is seeing other people truly start to live authentically and love themselves. And when you do that, it's like you just create this love that shows up in literally every single area of your life. You're able to pour love into others and also receive love fully when you start it yourself.
And when you start being your authentic self unapologetically, that's when you start attracting alignment that's meant for you, instead of you trying to align with external things or external people, which will never feel authentic to you, right? Whatever is meant for you is going to be presented for you. So if you're living out of alignment constantly, that's what you'll get. But if you just decide to, fuck it, I'm going to be myself, and whatever comes with that is what's going to come with that, you will find that alignment has been all around you this whole time. You just haven't been in the mode to receive it.
Exactly.
And that starts from within. That starts from accepting who you are as you are. And that's when life gets fun. That's
when it gets so fun.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it so much. And it's so true. Like, it truly starts with you. And the way we see the world even, is truly a reflection of everything, is really a mirror. I know that you're really focused on like mirrors right now and speaking on that. And that's such a huge thing, because we can learn so much about ourselves through how we perceive others and how we feel other people are perceiving
100%.
us.
Yes.
So it's so important to just pay attention. Like, honestly, pay attention to how you view your reality. Pay attention to how you show up in your relationships and how you view other people, because that is just giving you information. It's literally portals to just deeper knowing.
It's just data. And it's like, it's not an act of self-love that the moment like a mirror, say someone else or a circumstance, triggers you, to remove yourself from that mirror. That's not an act of self-love, because you're not dedicated to your growth. You got to question and sit with like, why am I triggered? But then it is an act of self-love when you've dealt with that, healed that part of you, and then understood, okay, now that mirror was there for the old unhealed version of me, and now it's done serving its purpose. So that is an act of self-love at that point, of like, okay, you've served your purpose. I've grown, I've healed, I've evolved. But now it's like, if I keep you in my life, you're going to pull out parts of me that I have healed. And so it's also an act of self-love to remove a mirror when it is time. But I think a lot of people run away from the mirrors when things get juicy, and like, it's like, oh, why do I feel this way? What is it that I'm suppressing that is making me envious of this situation or this person, or like really diving deep?
Yeah, that's so true. Like, we kind of have to, like you were saying, when we need to remove mirrors or we need to remove things that are no longer serving us, that is an act of self-love in itself, right? That's an act of you aligning yourself with your values and truly setting boundaries with yourself, right? And others, because that in itself, you're just going to, sometimes we learn what we don't want, And that just gets us closer to what we actually want, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
everything. Like there's lessons in everything. Sometimes it
Yeah.
sucks. Most of the time when we have to remove someone or something, it sucks, right? Like it's never easy.
I think that's also why a lot of people probably struggle with being their authentic self, because they think like, oh, like these people won't accept me anymore and I won't have anyone. And it's like, would you rather just have people there in their physical form and not have a connection on a soul level? Or would you rather be yourself and have that period of time where those people need to get wiped away because they weren't in alignment with your truest self, so you can make space for the people that are meant for you? I think that's like with
Yeah.
my clients too. A lot of people that come into my container are like, I don't have good people in my life. How do I go about that? And everything starts off with, we got to clean out the space. We have to clean out the space. The people that don't respect your boundaries, they're doing you a favor now that I'm here, because, okay, they don't respect your boundaries. They got to go. They have to go.
Yeah.
Do you want people that respect your boundaries? Then you have to clear out the people that don't. Because if you have those people in your life still that aren't respecting you and respecting your boundaries, you're reaffirming to yourself that that is what I'm worthy of attracting. So you might attract more friends. They're just not going to respect your boundaries.
So, so true. Yeah. You only receive the energy that you put out, right? And if you're giving off this energy that is of that, like, I'm just keeping this person around because they've been with me forever, that's a huge thing. It's like, just because you have history with somebody doesn't mean you have to keep them around. Everybody, like, we are literally, our whole universe is built on expansion and growth. And you're going to change, you're going to evolve. And that's another act of self-love, is truly embracing the changes as you go through them, right? Especially as women, like, we're cyclical beings, and it's so important to embrace all of the cycles as we go through them. And that comes with embracing the ugly, like embracing the seasons that aren't beautiful.
That we need to shed.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful in its own way as you look back on it, but as you're in it, it might feel really nasty, really hard, really just like uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's where like surrender comes into play too. Because if you're, the thing is like, if you're living the same life that you were living 10 years ago, you probably have a control problem where you don't want to surrender to the expansion. And so you're under the illusion that we have control. And so you're like sticking to the same friend group, sticking to the job that you hate, sticking to the life that you fucking hate, and the husband that you don't like going home to, and the kids that are being raised in alignment with who you've been showing up as, which is not someone that you're proud of. And it's like, cool, all that came at the cost of like you being in your alignment, but at least you have control, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like a surrender versus control thing. We will never have control. That's the thing that people just need to accept. And that's when life gets juicy and fun.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the root of most, I would say, all suffering is attachment, right? And when we're attached to the past, when we're attached to what feels safe, we're just going to continue to suffer and suffer and suffer, because we're literally, the universe is trying to push us to change and evolve, and we're constantly just trying to hold on.
Yeah.
We're always going to feel that like almost there, but it's not going, because we're just continuously trying to control. And when we let go and surrender and trust something greater than ourselves, like you said, because we're ultimately like, we're not in control. We're only in control of ourselves,
our vibration,
and our energy, right? And we don't change unless our energy changes. And so when you align your energy with love and with abundance and your true, which is your true essence, right? You naturally start to attract people in your life who are also on that same frequency. And it's really hard to believe at first. So I remember when I was not in my true essence and I wasn't showing up authentically and I was very lost, that sounded like bullshit to me. I was like, no, like, I think I can control who's in my life, and that's what's going to lead me to having these people in my life. And it's like, No, sis.
There's no expansion. There's no expansion
Yeah.
with that thinking, with that mentality. It's like you would rather just have these people, and then if you still
Yeah.
have these people in 40 years, then you succeeded because.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you've kept yourself small, which is
Mm-hmm.
not an act of self-love,
Yeah.
But when you understand that not only is everything out of your control, but everyone and everything is temporary, you start to really appreciate the seasons so much more.
Yep.
So much
Yeah.
more, because it's like you understand that you don't have control over this thing. This thing flowed into your life. And that's where gratitude comes in. And that's where just loving to the highest extent that we can comes into play. But
Yeah.
then the thing is, like with relationships, for example, like you can have the best relationship with someone, but one day they decide to leave.
Yeah.
That is out of your control. That is literally out of your control. It can blindside you completely. But because you loved while you had it, you can let it go when it needs to be let go.
Yeah.
But it's like, then there's those people that's like, oh, you don't want to be with me anymore. But that's not how I panned out my life to be. You're supposed to be here in 80 more years. So no. And then that's where the misalignment starts playing a role, because it's like you're so focused over here when abundance is over here.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I like this saying that, like, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but it's like the universe always takes the trash out for you. I'm not saying like these people are trash or whatever, but like the universe will always take what needs to be taken out for you. Now it's your decision whether you allow, trash day to just happen, or if you're going to chase the garbage truck. Like,
Yeah.
and then you're missing all the above that's over here while you're going that way chasing what's no longer meant for you.
So true. So true. That's like a perfect representation of that attachment, right? When we attach to
Yeah.
this, and we're not embracing the change.
Yeah.
Truly, it's always like change is inevitable, right? And
Yeah.
it's like,
That's the only constant. That's the
yep,
only
the
constant.
only constant, the only
Yeah.
constant. And so embrace your changes, embrace your seasons, as hard as it is, because any change is going to feel uncomfortable as fuck. It's going to, like, there's no question
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And then you're gonna have your
So
old self wanting to, even like your old self from a month ago or a few weeks ago, that's like, wait, don't kill me off yet. And then you
yeah,
get those urges to self-sabotage. And it is an act of self-love to push through
push
that.
through.
You have to
Exactly.
you have to be your best friend on this journey.
Yep.
No one's going to do it for you. You have to trust in your ability to get to the place that you set out for yourself,
Yeah,
the desires that you
exactly.
have.
Yep.
And then you also,
Discipline.
yeah, and you have to understand that it is literally your brain is being put to work. Your subconscious is being put to work when you start, doing these new patterns and building towards a new life, essentially.
Yep.
But since it's doing all this work, it's not completely rewired yet. You're gonna have self-sabotaging thoughts and urges come
Yep.
up. Like, oh,
Yep.
maybe you should hang out with this person from your past or this friend group from your past that's no longer meant for you. Or like, I don't know, if you stop drinking or smoking, it's like, oh, maybe like one time going out won't hurt or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, you've now told your brain and your subconscious, like, I'm actually in alignment with this person that I was. We were getting somewhere. And that old version of me was dying, the one that I did want to kill off. But because I've relapsed into my old self, now I'm reaffirming that I actually don't really want to be that person bad enough. And then you got to start again from day one. And then your brain's got to be put to work again. And it's like, you just got to push through. There's an act of self-love to push through.
Push through.
And like those things come up for me. I'm literally this week. I don't know. Venus is in retrograde right now. So I'm literally pushing through. I am pushing through. And I'm like, the old me would have relapsed. But like, I know that everything is a mirror. And I know that whatever my old self found comfort in from external things, I can get that from within. And so I'm just going to keep pushing through. It's no ifs, ands, or buts when you realize that it's all within you.
Exactly. It's all within you. Everything you need is within you, right? And the truth is, too, it's like we I think we always search outside of us as well to like fill that void, etc. And I know that was for me kind of what was holding me back for so long from that true self-love, which this is a shadow or pattern of my past self, to consistently look outside of me for answers, right? So like anytime I would get to this place of like peace and happiness, like you were saying with the self-sabotaging thing, that didn't feel safe to me. Self-love did not feel safe because I was so used to hating myself. I was so
Yeah.
used to being in chaos. And
Mm-hmm.
so anytime I would start to feel that peace, I would try and sabotage it. And then I would get back. I would feel this sense of like, oh, I have to start over again. And it's like this self-sabotaging cycle
Yeah.
over and over and over again with my self-love journey. And I would constantly look outside of me for the answers, when in
Yeah.
reality, it was all within me all along.
Yeah.
And when we consistently look outside of us, like, oh, maybe if I just make X amount of money, oh, maybe if this guy will like me back, oh, maybe if there's tons of different ways we can look
Yeah.
outside of us to try and fill this void. But until we
Yeah.
truly cultivate that love from within and align ourselves with our natural essence, our true self, right? That's the only thing that truly leads us to fulfillment. Because once we do that, everything, like we were talking about before, everything in our external reality just aligns with that
It's for
naturally.
us.
Yep,
Yeah.
you are an energetic
Yeah.
match for what you
Yeah.
want and
Yeah.
love and abundance.
I was on my hot girl walk earlier too, just recording for my mirrors masterclass. And I'm like, the people that look outside of them, for example, for a relationship, it's like, okay, if you are at 20% self-love in your life and you're like, I just need a partner to make me whole, you will not attract a partner that's at 80% self-love. That's just not what's going to happen. You are going to attract a mirror, somebody else that's at 20%. Don't add those up. You can't add anything outside of you up to your percentage of self-love, right? So it's not 40, it's just two 20% people in each other's lives. You guys are not making each other whole, right? Everyone is just a mirror for you. So you'll never be fulfilled. And then if you do find that someone that pulls out those good parts of you, pin it on them, like, oh, I didn't have this love within me until I met this person, then you are dependent on them. And so, like the example I said earlier, then they decide to leave, then you don't know who the fuck you are because your identity is based around them.
That's a huge one. And I know I struggled with that my entire life. I know we've had conversations about that too. It's like the codependency factor and feeling this need to be with somebody. I feel like that's kind of programmed at a young age, like through all of these like fairy tales, like, oh, once I find my true love, like he's going to be perfect and everything I desire and everything I need. And it's like, the truth is, no, like you are your true love. You are the love you're searching for. And I feel like this whole game, like, yes, relationships are so important. I feel like they're honestly a foundation of life, right? Like it's so important to have other people in our life who are aligned with us, and connection is so important. However, again, those connections start with you and your relationship with you. And that's something I know I'll be teaching my kids at a young age. Like it starts with you,
100%. Because in my first long-term relationship, he was a great guy. Like he treated me so well. Like I wish him nothing but like happiness for the rest of his life because he treated me so well, but I did not love myself. So I treated him like shit. like when he would do things out of just pure love, I didn't know how to receive it. You will never know how to receive it. It will not feel authentic if you do not authentically love yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It will not exist for you unless you tap into that within yourself.
Exactly.
That's why like people have this perception, oh, like everyone's fake. It's like, what parts of you are fake for you to think that?
Yep. Exactly. Like how you see the world is how you see yourself.
Exactly.
And it's just a reflection. And so It's so, so important, like you said, to cultivate that love from within, because you're not going to be able to receive. And I totally relate. Like my first long-term boyfriend, we dated for 3 years and he loved me so much and treated me so well. And I was not capable of loving anyone else because I had no ounce of love and just so much hate for myself.
So
And
much anger and just resentment for
anger,
who we were.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And it's like
Yeah.
until I was able to truly cultivate that love from within, it's like once you do that, you just want to give all of your love to everyone. And it's like you have so much love because you're pouring from an overflowing cup. When
Yeah.
you have your own
Exactly.
acceptance, love, and true validation from within. Because external validation and constantly seeking this external validation, it's like this never ending cycle. You never
Mm-hmm.
feel fulfilled.
It's like you're chasing what's the next thing that's going to make me
Yep.
happy? When's the next time we go get fucked up? When's the next person that I
Yep.
meet that's going to make me feel whole and then
Mm.
make me feel like shit after?
Yeah.
But it's just the quick dopamine hit.
Yep. Quick
It's
dopamine
not
hit.
so it's not the sustainable contentment with who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only thing that will truly fill that is you. Somebody's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll edit that piece. But yeah, they were
Okay.
actually, it's so funny. They were looking for a place to record their podcast.
Oh, oops.
It's so funny. Yeah, I'll edit this part. But
Okay. Okay.
back to what were we talking about?
Um, it all starts from within.
All starts from within. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it all starts with you. And when you internally validate yourself and you're able to give yourself that acceptance, and again, you have everything you need within you. You really, really do. All of your answers, the love and acceptance that you're seeking from outside of you is literally just a
Yeah.
reflection of what you need to give to yourself. Like, another question is like, what do you like to receive from others? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
are your love languages, right? Like, how can you start to give that to yourself? Because again, it's all just a mirror, like, of what you're needing and what you're wanting and what's going on within. If you're
Exactly.
able,
And when
yeah,
you give yourself that love that you used to desire outside of you, you won't accept anything less than that because it's like, I love myself without a partner. Now,
yeah,
if you are going to take away from that, then you're not welcome. Like, I can feel it. I can feel what inauthentic love or conditional love feels like because I used to give myself that. But
yeah,
now it's like I'm radiating who I am authentically. Are you going to add to my peace or take away from it? And that goes for not just
exactly.
romantically, friends and even
Everything.
family,
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, being able
Yeah.
to set boundaries. Like when you get clear
Mhm.
on who you are, which in order to do
Mhm.
that, you have to just sit with yourself and get to know yourself. And that in itself can be kind of scary,
Yeah.
especially when you come from this place. Like I know for me, as I was getting to know myself, I was terrified to get to know the deeper, darker pieces of me too. And it's like you have to accept the full spectrum of you, right? Just
Yeah.
as you would want somebody else to. I know that
Mhm.
for me, I wanted everybody in my life, especially my romantic partner, to love like the deepest parts of me. And it was like, I wasn't doing that for myself. So how were they
Yeah.
able to, right? It's like
Yeah.
other people are only able to love you at the capacity that you love yourself. And
Exactly.
if you're not showing them either, because when you aren't accepting of it, of course you're not going to put your full spectrum self out
Yeah.
there, right? It's like there
Yeah. It's
has to
like
be a
looking at
level of
it's still like the
acceptance.
concept of looking outside of you to
Mm-hmm.
like make you whole,
Yep.
because you're not accepting yourself as
Yeah,
whole. Yeah.
exactly. And you are
Yeah.
whole. And it's like your soul knows that. The soul within you, like it knows that it's enough as it is. And the only thing that holds us back is the human in us,
Mm-hmm.
the mind, literally.
Exactly. Well, it's like, okay, we're born as pure love.
Yup,
And then
pure
from
love.
the moment of conception, when we go through our like experiences and our childhood and all that shit, that love is slowly suppressed more and more and more and more. But it's still within us. We just went through some shit.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter if it was like some really shitty shit or like it's just you and your perception of everything.
Yeah.
It could be like someone taking your lollipop or something like that. You know what I mean? And that could fuck you up.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. It's so important to ask yourself the question of like, what are these things? Because trauma is how it affects us internally, right? It's not necessarily what happened to us. It's like what happened to our literal emotional state, right? How our
Yeah.
body, our nervous system reacted to
Mm-hmm.
it. So even if now looking back, you're like, that didn't matter, right? It's like, okay, well, how did you feel at that time? How did
Yeah.
you react to it at that time? Because that probably shifted some type of belief within you at a very young age. If it emotionally, your emotions were
Yeah.
dysregulated, like your nervous system was dysregulated, right? To some
Yeah.
extent. So
Yeah.
it's so important to ask that too, because then you can get to know what you currently believe, what your current belief systems are kind of built around, and kind of rewire, unlearn, and
Yeah.
then rebuild that, right? Into what is
Yeah.
aligned with you, you know?
And like understanding that your experiences had shaped you up until now, but
Yup.
now is all we have. So how can you sever that connection?
Mm,
That's really what it is. That's like what the process of like healing is and stuff like that. Cause it's like, oh, I got my heart broken. So now my guard is up because everyone's going to break my heart. No, you have to sever the ties between that and the now. Because if you don't do that, you will keep attracting partners that will break your heart because that's all
yup,
you know. That's
yup,
normal and familiar to you.
yup.
Have normalized it.
Yeah, like what's safe to you, you know?
Yeah.
What's your known? And a lot of
Hmm.
the times our deepest desires, the things that we want most, that's not known to us. So even if we know that it's so good for us and we deserve it, we want it, we're capable of it, it's like it's still going to be terrifying. It's still going to feel
Hmm.
unknown. And another act of self-love is simply just stepping into that unknown, like we were talking about before, and truly surrendering, because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of unknowns. There's so many unknowns, like life
Everything
itself.
is unknown.
Yeah,
It's unknown.
life itself is this huge mystery. Like
Yeah.
there is so much unknown, and
Yeah.
it's about embracing that unknown. And on the other side of letting this past identity, this old self, this version of you that no longer serves you, letting that go and truly
Hmm.
die, on the other side of that is the unknown. Just like when you
Yeah.
die physically and leave the earth,
Yeah.
you die, and on the other side of that is the unknown, right? Like nobody truly
Exactly.
knows what's
Nobody knows.
on the other
Exactly.
side of
But
that.
and then something that's coming up for me too is like there's so many ways to regulate your nervous system, but like I think when you're going through this rebirth, it's so important to journal. It's really important to like have those conversations, not just in your thoughts, because as I'm talking to you, my brain is processing the incense that are burning over there, the
Yeah.
Himalayan salt lamp, the sunlight, everything, all
Yeah.
these millions of things. Don't just think these things, but like reaffirm to yourself, like if it's like a healthier relationship that you desire, but you've been so used to toxic relationships, and then your nervous system's like, but this doesn't like start causing chaos in it. Like this is not normal. That's where it's like important to have those conversations with yourself of like, oh, this is what a healthy love looks like. I need to just regulate myself so that I don't go back to the old pattern. So it's really important. That's a huge act of self-love, and it ties in with being your best friend, is have open and honest conversations with yourself. Like I'll tell you, like when I was in Tulum and I was going through my shit and it was really ugly, I was healing from basically everything in my life. The first like 3 weeks, my journal entries were so surface level. I was not even talking about what brought me to Tulum at all. Did not mention names or anything. It was like I wanted to be in like delusion about it or something. And I never felt so disconnected from myself. And I have like a journal entry where I'm like, I need to like actually talk about what's going on because I am disconnected. I don't know. I don't know how to work through this because I'm not talking to myself. I'm not accepting those parts of myself to myself. That's really what it was. So the day that I started actually writing, like, this is what I wake up with on my mind every single day before I think about me, before I think about anything else. And that is the energy that I'm dragging into my entire day. And so we need to address this, right? It's like the people that wake up and they're like, fuck, I hate my job. I hate my boss. And then that's the energy that's, there's no regulation going on because there's no conversation going on. It's like you're just unconsciously living.
That's so huge. It's like integrating, like we can build awareness because that's the first step, right? Is building awareness around what we want to shift. It's always the first step. However, if we don't truly integrate it, it doesn't matter. Just like what we were just talking about, it's like you can read a book and it be like so like opens your mind, opens your heart, and you're like, whoa, like this is all the information I've ever needed. It's like if you don't integrate that though, it's not going to do shit for you, right? Like
I saw a video yesterday that was like reading those books or whatever, it's like the blueprint of the house. But if you don't have a builder, the fuck, like that blueprint's gonna rot and do nothing for you. Right?
exactly.
So it's the action, it's the taking the action.
Taking the action.
Yeah. It's an act of self-love.
Yep, it is. And that's the fun part, honestly. I feel like, when we are integrating, because we learn all the tools, we learn and we become aware of what's currently going on, becoming aware of the patterns and starting to interrupt the patterns, right? Is where the integration begins because we can become aware of it. And it's like, oh, I'm having these thoughts about myself, about my reality, about other people. Take advantage of the gap between the thought and the reaction, right? Because a lot of the times what happens, kind of circling back to what we were talking about before, it's like have the thought and that leads us to these self-sabotaging behaviors instantly. We just do it subconsciously without even thinking. And then it's like, okay, we're back. We feel like we're back to where we were before.
Yeah.
And it's okay, like throughout the process, again, like giving yourself compassion to truly, like, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be linear. You're not going to have days like every single day where you're just like doing all the things, right? It's like we have to give ourselves that compassion because then it allows us to break the self-sabotaging cycle every time maybe we quote unquote mess up, right?
And sometimes you have to break yourself down during the process, like do the self-sabotaging things, but then have those conversations. How do I feel after I did that? Do I feel like I just took myself 10 steps backwards? Do I feel like that was an act of self-love?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the conversations we have with ourselves are the most valuable conversations we will ever have. And how can you get to know somebody if you've never talked to them? If you aren't actually getting to know them, if you, it's like you wouldn't trust somebody else you've never talked to or gotten to know, right? It's like you've got to do the same for yourself if you want to love and trust yourself, right?
100%.
And the way to do that is like yourself.
Have those conversations with yourself and figure out what it is that cultivate that relationship with yourself, because otherwise you're allowing life to just fuck you. Like literally you're not surrendering, you are submitting. You are like, whatever I get is what I deserve. Because I don't know what I want. And I don't know what I deserve. So whatever I get, I'll take it.
Exactly.
The shitty job, the shitty relationship, the shitty friendships. I am a victim. Because I don't know what I want. I've never had a conversation with myself about what I want. I'm huge, like with my clients and with myself, obviously practicing what I preach, but like writing lists and get freaking specific. And I think that the more self-love that you cultivate, the more specific these lists get, because you know that you're worthy of getting whatever it is that you desire in this world. But it's like, get really fucking specific with the shit that you want and then leave it to the universe. Surrender. That's when you surrender. That's when you're like, okay, now I know that exists because I put it on paper. And you have to have that inner knowing, which comes from self-love and self-worth and but no one can take that away from you and no one can give that to you. So once you decide, I'm just gonna fucking love the hell out of myself, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah,
Otherwise you
exactly.
still have work to do, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like we're on this journey. It's always going to be, you're always going to be healing, right? It's this
Hmm.
ongoing journey that never get to this destination per se of like self-love and acceptance. It's not this like, okay, I'm here now. It's just like this
Yeah.
ongoing, just like a relationship, right? Like you don't just hit
Yeah.
this stagnant place in a relationship and you're like, okay, cool. Like no more growth. We're good.
Yeah,
It's like we
exactly.
just continue to evolve and grow. And you're gonna have seasons, you're gonna have moments where maybe things don't feel as good as they did yesterday. And that's okay too. And I think that in itself is self-love. It's all about how you pick
Hmm.
yourself back up. Right. It's if you
Exactly.
choose to push yourself back down after you knock down, get knocked down,
Yeah.
then you're just creating the self-sabotage. Whereas if you just
Yeah.
pick yourself back up, like you said, be your own best friend, your own true love, right? And truly be there for yourself like you would others, right?
Yeah.
And when
Exactly.
your
It's
friend, your love, whoever it is going through something, it's like you pick them up, you help them.
yeah. Be
Do
your
the
best
same for
friend.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
your best friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I think something that, like, for my fitness journey, for example, because I used to just like eat like shit for weeks and then bring myself back because I would look at old photos. Oh, like 3 weeks ago I looked so much better. So I would then go back to this like strict dieting, all this stuff, and then the weekend would roll around and I would eat like shit, get drunk, all this stuff. And then it was like a cycle that I was in. Whereas now it's like I just want to be better than I was yesterday. My only competition is me. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, like I was on my period a few days ago. Like I ate a lot of chocolate. So, and I'm going to give myself grace because I'm a woman and I am allowed to eat chocolate. And then it's like, but I'm not, because I did that, I'm not going to go buy 10 pounds of chocolate and continue that downward spiral
Yeah.
and make it a downward spiral. No, I'm like, I'm going to give myself grace and be like, okay, now today is a new day and we're back and we're sticking to
Yeah.
what we know. It's not even like that is an act of self-love too, is like sticking to what you know makes you feel the best. Like
Mhm.
honestly, eating healthier, I feel so much better. When I eat like shit and I binge, that's not going to make me feel good. That's not an act of
Yeah.
self-love. That's
Yeah.
not an act of self-love at all, because it's like another like quick dopamine hit,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so when I've gotten into this mentality, those like binging cycles, even with drinking and stuff that I had in college, that doesn't come up for me anymore.
Yeah. So you know how to sit with it, you know how to sit
Yeah.
with your shit. Like when you are
Yeah.
feeling uncomfortable or you are feeling whatever emotions are coming up for you, actually being able to sit with it. Because a lot of these, coping mechanisms or distraction mechanisms are just that, like to cope and distract from
Mhm.
what we're feeling because we don't know how to sit with
Mhm.
ourselves. However, we want
Yeah.
others to sit with us and hear us out and be there for us while we're vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? But it's like we can't do that with ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's so important because when we're vulnerable with ourselves and we're able to just feel and support and nurture ourselves in those moments, then we can start to break the pattern because we're actually nurturing ourselves rather than sabotaging every time we feel that familiar feeling, you know?
Exactly.
And those familiar feelings, they can be really tough to sit with. But it's all
Mhm.
about, again, how would you want someone else to nurture you and love you? How would you
Yeah.
want somebody else to be there for you? You can do that for yourself. And I feel like that's
And
the basis
you
of it
gotta date
all.
yourself. You have to date
Yeah.
yourself. Be
Yeah.
that person for you. I like had a moment last year where I did a little bit of shrooms, and it was a really actually like a hard day for me. It was my mom's like death anniversary, and I was just by myself. It was my first time ever doing shrooms by myself. And it was like 4 hours on my couch where like I didn't think anything was happening, but like at the end of that, I heard like a buzzing noise and I was like, oh my God. And I sat up and I just hugged myself. And I was like, I've never felt so safe. And I do this all the time now. Like since that day, like I love hugging myself because it's
Yeah.
like I've never put it into like it was kind of like an out of body experience
Mhm.
where it was like I'm safe with myself and I love myself. and I've carried myself here this whole time. And I'm going to carry myself through everything. And the
Mm.
only constant, change in me. We're the
Yeah.
only constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
huge. That's so huge. Like you are the only constant. So why not love yourself, right?
yeah. And,
Like,
and something that came up for me earlier too, when you're like, oh, like it's not the experiences that traumatize us, it's how our body internalizes it and all this stuff. It's like, express that shit.
yeah, express it,
Move
move
your
it,
body.
move that
Scream.
shit.
Scream, shout, cry, release it, get it out. It's in there.
Yeah,
And it doesn't
it's
matter,
in
like if
there.
you've gone years, 20, 30, 50 years without releasing, it's in there.
It's in there, and it's gonna feel that much
Fucking
better if it's in there for that long. Like,
literally yesterday I posted on my story, I'm like creating this masterclass of how everything is a mirror, and it's just like making me realize the things in my life that were just mirrors for me, everything. But it's like it's kind of like heavy shit that I'm working through. At like I feel like I'm going through an awakening while creating this. And so yesterday I was just like, I need a fucking release, and I the reason that I was recording that scream was because I was actually recording me dancing because I was like, I need a release. And I had a pillow on the ground and I was like, oh my God. It was like a vomit scream. Like I needed to get it out.
yeah.
And so I just grabbed the pillow and just screamed. And I was like, whoo.
That was
Like I feel so much
nice.
better. And then boom,
Yeah.
back to creating. It's like it's in your body and shit is like has been
Mm,
suppressed for so long, but it's in there
wow.
and it's weighing you down.
Yep.
If you want to lose weight, fucking release the
Let it
trauma.
out. Exactly. I guarantee you, like trauma, like stored trauma, suppressed trauma is the number one cause of so much shit, like disease, illness, mental illness, like so
Yeah.
many different things. And I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor, not here to tell you what's going on,
Yeah.
but just saying.
Yeah.
And overall, when you release that, and for me, in my own experience too, like trauma healing was how I healed physically as well. Like I had so
Mm-hmm.
many gut issues. It was insane. I
Mm,
was even lactose intolerant, which I didn't think you could like get rid of. But
yeah.
once I started healing my trauma, that went away. My gut issues went away, my hormone
Wow.
imbalances, my skin cleared
Yeah.
up, like everything started to come back to alignment because my body was just in fight or flight. It was just responding to all
Yeah.
of this stuff that I felt like I was continuously going through every single day, because that's what
Yeah.
happens when we store that trauma. Our subconscious mind is like constantly on edge, feeling like, when is this going to happen again? When is this going to happen again? And
Yeah.
anytime we tap into those emotions that feel familiar to that, it's like, ooh, no, I go in like complete, it's like that anxiety ridden
Yeah.
feeling, right? And that's what I
Yeah.
struggled with for the entirety of my life, was anxiety too, like
Yeah.
anxiety disorder, extreme anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
And it was because I had so much built up trauma within my body that I needed to
Mm.
somatically heal. And
Yeah.
somatic healing through dancing and screaming and breath work and truly integrating your body into your healing work is so
Mm.
important too, because we can work through it on a mental level, on an emotional level, and really start to process it, which is so, so important. That's the first, I feel like the first step in it is just like becoming aware and starting to really work through it. Journaling, therapy, having a coach,
Mm-hmm.
etc., is like the best way to do that. And then two, truly starting to integrate it into your life, into your body. And two, another thing with, I feel that truly has helped me is like truly allowing myself to feel the feelings of being
Mm.
safe, feeling peaceful, feeling love. Because when that doesn't feel safe to feel those things, even safe doesn't feel safe, right? It's like we just have to continuously remind ourselves that these feelings are safe, and that's within our body. A lot of the times we feel our emotions in our body, right? Like you can usually pinpoint like where in your body you're feeling things, and it's so
Yeah.
important to do so too, so you can become more aware and in tune with your body and your emotions.
Mm.
And when you become aware of what peace and happiness and joy and liberation and freedom feel like, At first it's going to feel like, what the fuck? This is terrifying.
Yeah.
But like you
Yeah.
said, you have to push through. And that is
Yeah.
where the freaking fun begins, because then you allow it. You allow yourself to feel the fun shit.
There's no more baggage holding you back. Your body is free, which is why it doesn't feel like it has to have all these issues and fight all the time. Right? Like my skin glows better when I'm healing. Like my skin, like honestly, I look like a completely different person than I feel like I was a year ago, 2 years ago.
Me too. Yep.
But it's like my body's not in fight or flight. My
Yep.
cortisol isn't fucking spiking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm regulating myself. I'm having the conversations with myself of like, oh, this is what I desire. This is normal. I know it feels weird, but it's safe.
Yeah.
I know it feels unfamiliar, but it's safe. And then you rewire your brain, and then actual safe feelings feel safe. Because you've now rewired your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like when you meet those people and you just feel safe in their presence. It's like, then you start normalizing that, because whatever is normal to you is subjective to you. And only you.
Exactly. And we just
I love that journey for you.
Yeah, same for you. It's so it feels so liberating and free to truly accept peace, love, joy, all the things back into your life, to truly accept that, because there's a level of just desiring it and wanting it. And there's a level of actually, again, integrating it and accepting it in. Because when we accept it in, that's when the true self-love, acceptance, all of it is actually able to happen, because we're allowing it to. We don't just desire it anymore. We actually allow ourselves to feel it. And that
experience it.
is,
And it's those, like, it's the experiencing of it, not just the healing of it, because you can keep healing for the rest of your life, and then you're going to keep reaffirming to yourself, I'm broken, so I need to heal. What's the next shadow? And at that point, you're not living in the present. But then it's the integrating part, or it's just the living and seeing like, oh my gosh, these interactions that I'm having are so aligned and weightless. And but that happened because you regulated yourself. You brought yourself back to love. You brought yourself back home.
Yep. It's our home. Like you said, we come into this earth as love. And that's what we're here to be. And so when we come back home to that love, it feels like home. And like home is a state of being. It's not a place. It's this level of consciousness. It's this feeling that you just like, I can't even put it into words, just liberated. And when you come back home to yourself, that's how you're able to truly feel like love again. And that, in my opinion, is what self-love is embodying love in itself. Because then you pour love into everything you do and everything you are, and you just radiate it. And it's so yummy.
You are just pure energy. You are just pure energy. You are not a piece of matter. You are literally vibrations. Vibrations. And it's like, when you realize that if you want to embody hate, you will attract that. That's how powerful we are, right? It's the reticular activating system. It's like, oh, I need a Jeep. Oh, now isn't that crazy? Did everyone go and buy Jeeps? Because that's all I see on the road is Jeeps. You know, no, there was Jeeps out there. You just weren't picking up on it in that same way. It's like, I love myself, and I'm going to walk through a room knowing who the fuck I am. And you watch, you'll start attracting people that know who the fuck they are and respect who the fuck you are. And love with you. They are a reflection of that.
Exactly.
Everyone is a mirror. So worry about your vibration. That's all. That is the biggest act of self-love, is raising your vibration. That's the only thing that you have control of. And watch your life unfold in front of you.
Exactly. Like nothing changes. Nothing changes until your energy changes. right? Because your energy is what determines everything. You're only going to receive what you're an energetic match for, like truly.
Exactly.
And I've seen it in my own life hard, like
Same.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like for so long, I was embodying lack. I was embodying scarcity. I was embodying fear. And these things just led me to attracting more and more and more of that. Whereas when I started to truly change my energy, that's when my life and my feeling, how I am, like what I embodied, the energy, the person I was truly able to embody my higher self because I aligned my energy with her, right? It's like, that is what true paradise, joy, liberation is it's not this like place, thing, job, anything
destination.
outside of
Yeah.
you. It's not a destination. Yeah, it is literally a state of being. That is
here
it.
and it's now.
Yeah, it's here. It's here. Like you have everything you need right here, right now, truly within you.
And it's
just
and it's an
in.
act of self-love to really understand that, because you can spend your entire life focusing on the future, focusing on a time that will never exist. The future will never exist. All that will exist is the now. So how are you treating yourself now? What are you embodying your truth now?
Yeah.
That's why don't say you'll start tomorrow. Live in line with your truth now.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing too, is like it is a huge act of self-love to understand that just because I've been with these friends or living this life for 40 years of my life, I can make a decision now and my reality will shift now.
Yep, exactly. You just have to decide. Deciding is an act of self-love, right? It's like once we make that decision, it'll all play out the way it's supposed to. Everything that's happened
Trusting your
to
gut.
you and for you, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, right? Like everything. Life is always happening for you. And so when you start to truly allow that in, allow life in itself, you're allowing the present moment in. Because again, like you said, that's all we ever have. That's what life is. It's just this everlasting now. And the possibilities within this now are literally limitless. Literally, you have this infinite pool of limitless possibilities literally inside of you. You just have to sit and listen in. And that's
Everything's going to meet you where you're at. Everything is going to meet you exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
So just focus on where you're at.
Yeah.
Focus on raising that vibe, and everything that's meant for you will meet you exactly where you're at.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to like wrap it up. That is such an amazing everything about this conversation. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. Is there anything else?
Having me.
Yeah, of course. Is there anything else you want to tap into, talk about, or share today?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's just Shanuka, SHANUKA _. And I'm all about self-love on my page. So yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I love every conversation with you. It's just so like energizes me.
You too. Well, I love you, girl, and thank you everybody who tuned in, and we'll be back. I'll be back next week. So hope everybody has a beautiful week. Okay, bye.